A very pleasant, snowy, beautiful Thursday noon lunch hour to you. Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast. We are presented, as always, by the DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. You know it. You love it. You want to download the app and use the promo code CHGO when you sign up. Big show today, Pro Football Focus. Brad Spielberger coming up at 12:20. As we'll look into free agency. Huge news yesterday, but the big news today, I got to be honest, is that I get to hang out with the original Bears brothers, Nicholas Moreano and Will DeWitt. Look at the two. Look at the Chicago Audible. Look at our guys. They've known each other for how long now? When did you guys officially become friends? I don't think I've ever been in this position before, so I'm feeling a little lovey-dovey after Valentine's Day, if you will.
7 years, Mark. 7 years.
The hat, the throwback.
7 years, baby. That's a beautiful thing. I was watching a video today of my guy Nick Wright, who grew up rooting for the Chiefs, and he's hugging Patrick Mahomes and he's hugging Travis Kelce, and it's like career gone well, and that he's just hanging out in Kansas City, and look at the two of you at the same time. So, at any rate, all right, big news coming up here with the Bears and Arlington Heights. I'm not going to go completely down the road that I've been going down every single day because I'm just sort of getting resigned to it. I know that Will has something that he's about to spring on us here that perhaps celebrates what's going on. But, we talked about Justin Fields yesterday, some on the show, and there it is. The if you're watching on YouTube, somehow Will just transported himself to Arlington Park, which is now going to be whatever it's going to be down the line if they get the money. We'll talk about that in a bit here. But Justin Fields, we talked about his appearance on Part of My Take yesterday, but it is sort of getting more underlined today that the dude doesn't love playing outside in the cold. Not so much because of the cold, because of the wind. And, he wants that dome, be it in Arlington Heights or be it at Soldier Field, which I'm still have my hopes that it will be at Soldier Field. But Nick, you got a reaction to Justin wanting to have a climate-controlled, beautiful stadium to throw the football through, and will he actually be here at the point that this ever gets done?
Yeah, Mark, we were messaging in our Slack channel, like after he wins the Super Bowl, right? Next year, he's going to have plenty of time to, be playing in a dome when the Bears get that. But, right, I mean, wouldn't he want that? Wouldn't you want to see your players maximize the best of their abilities? Like anybody who's played any sport outside in the cold, you just move a little bit slower. Every hit hurts a little bit more. And this is a guy that can outrun anybody on the football field. And for him, who grew up in Georgia, who's playing, in ideal weather, I think that's fine. No, he doesn't like. I know like that's going to get a mixed reaction from a lot of people, especially in Chicago. Oh, you can't face the elements. He can. He just would prefer to play in a regulated indoor stadium so you can see Justin Fields run all over or pass all over anybody that he faces. I don't have an issue with it. I know that maybe it rubbed people the wrong way, but I'm cool with it.
I'm fine with it too. I just keep remembering the game that we went to, Nick, and it was just, and I know you went to one a week later that was even colder, and I couldn't imagine sitting through that. I think I have, but the older I get, maybe it's turning 30, but I just don't want to sit in the cold anymore. And I figure if Justin is your guy, you're building the franchise around him, he wants a dome, by golly, you go build him a dome, but he better return the favor and bring Super Bowl championships to decorate that stadium with. But on top of that, too, it allows the Bears to host Super Bowls. There's a lot of other great benefits of doing so. So I'm not going to poo-poo on a dome here on this episode by any means. I'm for it. There was a stage in my life where I would have been a hard no, but I think I'm coming around to it.
I love you saying that as you get older, Will, and then you throw in the 30 as as those of us who are a little bit more than 30, significantly more than 30. But looking good here with the high and tight. What do you guys think of the look here? I think it's I think it takes at least 5 years off of my actual existence, if you will. All right, can we put up the Bears statement, Lawrence, on what they said about this? Because I want I want to nitpick this if I can, because it's not done yet. So here it is. Last fall, we released an open letter confirming the team had reached an agreement for the purpose of acquiring 326 acres of property in Arlington Heights to secure the potential of beginning a new and exciting chapter for the Bears, our fans. And here's where I immediately get keyed in: the Chicago land community and the state of Illinois. So I asked George McCaskey when they announced Kevin Warren about leaving Chicago. And he was like, what do you have to tell the people who want to play in Chicago? And I forget his exact answer, but it was like that we're not looking to go, that we'll be here for the next 103 years or whatever it was. They are trying to act like we're still in Chicago land versus Chicago. They're trying to massage this as best as they can. And they continue on. This week, we took another step toward realizing that vision by closing on the Arlington Park property, finalizing the purchase. Here we go. Does not guarantee the land will be developed, but it is an important next step in our ongoing evaluation of the opportunity. There is still a tremendous amount of due diligence work to be done to determine if constructing an enclosed state-of-the-art stadium and multi-purpose entertainment district is feasible. Part 1 of the Bears statement on Twitter. Part 2 reads, should we proceed? They keep on putting this out there. Should we? Reminder, if we don't, we can all feel it, right? If we don't get the money, we ain't doing this. The development of the Arlington Heights property would be one of the largest mega projects in Midwest history. Here comes the sales pitch. Possible construction of a stadium anchor development is projected by analysts to create more than 48,000 jobs. That's why you should pay us, and generate $9.4 billion in economic impact, again, for the Chicagoland economy, and provide $3.9 billion in new labor income to workers across the region. These numbers, of course, never make any sense. You don't know how they come up with them. You have to, I guess, somewhat trust them. But this is the sales pitch. The completed mega project would create more than 9,750 long-term jobs, generate $1.4 billion in annual economic impact for Chicagoland, and provide $601 million in annual labor income to workers across Chicagoland. Like, how anybody have any idea how they come up with that? Are wages staying flat, and they know that's exactly what it's going to come out to? It just, I think we got to pay a little bit of attention to the wording here. The Village of Arlington Heights has hired its own expert consultant to review the economic projections. There you go. And we look forward to discussing the substantial benefits this project will provide. All right, I don't need to go any further. You guys can read the rest of the statement. Well, I've read it like 7 times because I find it to be interesting. I know I'm exhausting everybody, but it's a sales pitch, right? I'm not missing anything, am I, Will?
I think you're right that they're using it and trying to leverage what those positive impacts can be in hopes of securing funds. But I also believe it was just a statement allowing us to know that they've reached that next step in this process. And I think that is important to note for them. And then just kind of getting it out there. I mean, it got me excited as a fan. I think there are multiple reasons to come out with a statement like that. But one of them, as you said, is to potentially secure funds or get people interested in kind of supporting a project like this. It's going to be expensive, by no doubt, but the impact at least does seem promising if the numbers actually pan out.
Yeah, and real quickly, you guys, another important part in that letter, and the Bears have stated this before, is that the Bears will not seek taxpayer funds locally or otherwise for the structure, so building the actual stadium. But the other part of this, and this is where those funds you guys have been talking about, it's also stated that if the Bears do go forward with this project, a public-private partnership addressing predictable taxes and necessary infrastructure funding for public uses is essential. And that makes sense because when you think about what they're trying to create, it's not just the stadium itself, but everything around it, that people, the communities, the people that are going to come travel to see this glorious just project that the Bears are building, they're going to be able to use that 365 days a year, as opposed to a stadium. It's obviously the games and certain events that are taking place there on specific dates, but everything around it will be open for the public to use. So you do need some help with creating that. And I think when they put all those numbers, that's what obviously probably the high end that they're projecting, what the good possibilities of it, right? But I think when they sent this out, it's like how they said, it's the next step. Doesn't mean it's done, but I'll tell you this, like when my girlfriend came in here and asked like yesterday, so what does this mean? I'm like, well, they say it's not done, but when you read that and see everything, it's heading in that direction to being a sure thing down the line. So that's how I'm telling it to people when they say, are the Bears really moving to Arlington Heights, which I'm in this area right now? I'm like, yes, they are. And my guy, Mark Carman, probably not going to be too happy about that.
I like Nomad's comment here. Just hit me on my beeper when the stadium is there. I didn't know beeper still exists, but Nomad, if you're really rocking the beeper, that's fantastic. Right. It's not done, but it feels like it's done. And I'll go kicking and screaming like I've gone to every new stadium and enjoy it just like I enjoy the United Center and want Chicago Stadium back. That's never going to happen. And when the wrecking ball hit that thing, I was, the tears were flowing. And the mayor's office, is still putting out statements that when the entire economics of this whole thing comes together, that it'll be better to stay in Chicago. They're going to have to get super creative about that to even remotely be in the discussion here down the line. But I am curious, and Lawrence, maybe you can throw up a poll. Does our CHGO listeners, diehards, the very reason that we are here today, and we appreciate all of you, and I love to see the comments flowing in here. Are we in favor of the Bears getting public funds to develop the structure around the stadium? Yes and or no. And Lawrence, I also want your thoughts on this because you're a good-hearted fellow. I assume that you are going to say no, but maybe you're seeing the benefit of all of it, and maybe the state should be contributing to building around. So, but I am curious where we're at on should public funding be allowed or given to the Bears because they are developing the structure that's going to benefit all of us here in numerous ways that perhaps we can't understand. Will, are you in favor or not in favor?
I was about to play a sound effect actually on my end of the world's smallest violin as you were talking.
Oh, good.
Here. But again, I don't think I'm in a position to specify if they should use public funds or not. I'm not a legal expert when it comes to money, public funds, or anything of that nature. And I personally don't want to say something without being informed. So I'm not going to butt in. But the one thing I'll say is that I'm all for building this new stadium because I'm tired of the Bears having that lowest capacity for an NFL stadium. Imagine getting 15, 20,000 more Bears fans together on Sundays chanting, "Let's go Bears," getting that, that level up. I mean, Soldier Field's fun. You can get that place rocking, but that's only 61,000 people when it's sold out. Imagine if you had 70,000 like SoFi or 80,000 like AT&T Stadium. That would be pretty badass and epic if you can bump up the amount of Bears fans that can show up to these game days. We all know it's a sought after ticket, regardless of win or lose, and sometimes how those seasons go. But for me, I'm not going to say how they should get that money. Feel free to find a way to get it. Be creative how you do so. Don't screw over the little man would be my one advice for the Bears. I don't think they'll go that route, but yeah, I'm not informed enough or I guess all into like law when it comes to land and development projects to really give a fair answer.
Chris Bagaro with a $4.99 super chat. Carm, I love you, but they wouldn't buy it if they weren't building it. Braggs is going to build it brick by brick. Chris, I'm with you. I think they're going to build it. And now Drew Black in the comments. I heard the Duke will be funding it. Maybe he will. Nick, are you willing to get money out of your pocket for the Bears to build this thing?
I guess it depends what we're looking at, right? I mean, obviously, this is going to be a place we're going to be working around this area, Mark. It's going to be great to be around this area. The Bears are going to be winning. It's an interesting question, but since I now living in Arlington Heights, I know, I do want to purchase a home out this way just because of what it could, become in a few years here. You never know. I think it would add to the community that's already being developed and what the Bears, like when I went to go visit some of the other stadiums, Mark, this past season, seeing like Dallas, which their stadium's in Arlington, and what's built around there. You're seeing Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Minneapolis. Like that's kind of what you need to do. And I see Doug in the comments here. I moved back to Illinois from Minneapolis 2 years ago. And I was paying for that new Vikings stadium in my own taxes, even though I hate the Vikings. That's just how it is, right? That's just how it is to kind of get something done like that. And obviously the Bears make a lot of money. But when they get this stadium, they're going to make even more money. But I think there's a little help that does need to be provided to get the surrounding part of the stadium built. And I think that's, again, how Doug put it in the end. That's just how it is.
Yes, but we can live in utopia here for a minute and be going for cake and eat it too. You want to move out there? You want to own everything? You want to develop all this land and create ways that you're going to be getting income in 17,000 different, whatever, stores, real estate, however they're going to create more income for themselves. Well, hey, that's great. Super creative. I'm sure there's lots of people that'll be super excited to contribute to all that. And, they should be putting up the bulk of the dollars, I would say. I'm not saying there shouldn't be any whatever their infrastructure stuff. I can get with, whatever. We're getting brand new pipes and stuff that's going to benefit all across Arlington Heights, and the water's going to be flowing better. Okay, I get it. I could see that. And Greg brags in the chat. I voted yes because I live in Indiana. That's funny. That's funny. But I mean, I always think it's a tough putt for the little guy paying for the billionaire. And I know I get that that's how this goes, and that's how it's going to go. I do hope that it's at least not the worst deal in history. We're still paying for Soldier Field, I get that people don't necessarily want me doing a ton of reading on the pod, but the mayor's statement was this. This has been anticipated for some time. Nonetheless, all of us diehard Bears fans, the mayor included, know and believe that the Bears should remain in Chicago. So now that the land deal is closed, we have a better opportunity to continue making the business case as to why the Bears should remain in Chicago and why adaptations to Soldier Field can meet and exceed all of the Bears' future needs. Now, she may be saying that because she's trying to get elected, and it's coming up very quickly, and there's politics in play here. So something to keep in mind. But I don't think she's lying and that she would prefer the Bears to stay in Soldier Field. Most people who I think live in Chicago at least would certainly prefer that. But all right, we've got
spelled soldier wrong.
I was going to say I saw that. The misspell, but I didn't realize, and I was just kind of trying to figure out like how much like a stadium would cost like a taxpayer. And I stumbled across SoFi, and I didn't know that even though that was a $5 billion stadium, that it was a $0 impact on taxpayers out there for it because it was privately funded with a bunch of other businesses like SoFi with the naming rights helping with a big chunk of change for it. So there are ways that you can tap into corporation money in order to get this stuff funded too, and it could be Goose Island Stadium or Goose Island George Hallis Stadium, or however you want to kind of go about the naming of that place. There we go. I was waiting for a sound effect since I promised one earlier, but I don't want to click the button.
Well, and that does lead us into maybe it'll become DraftKings Chicago Bears Stadium, which I don't. Anybody make a bet last night? You play the DraftKings there, Nick? You bet the Bulls again? Up by 24.
No, I bet I did bet the Pacers come back and win, and that was a bet I actually hit on. So I'm like, yep, the Bulls are gonna blow this. They always do.
I tried this at half, almost got that.
Indiana.
Wait,
you're not looking at me. Come on.
Oh wow! I was looking at the read, so I missed you. You did you bet him to win or did you take the spread?
No, at halftime I took him to win. Just figured why not? The odds were plus whatever 1,000 it was at the time. Put $5 on it, and I was like, hey. Maybe it'll cover my Valentine's dinner. It didn't. It was close.
You got good entertainment value out of that one. If nothing else, it was a great game. Go Wildcats! And yes, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Do it now. Use that promo code CHGO. New customers, you can bet $5 like Will just did last night on the Hoosiers at halftime, and you get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's only at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. With the code CHGO, Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes, of course, for details.
After you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you got to download Game Time. It's the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. Here, you guys, have you ever dreamed of sitting in a seat you never thought you could? 50-yard line at the Bears' new stadium, courtside behind home plate, floor seats at a concert. It's possible with the Game Time app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. You won't find a better deal this season on Bulls tickets, Blackhawks tickets, because Game Time is created by the fans, for the fans, and guarantees the lowest price. And if you love CHGO, then you'll love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. We're looking at Bucks and Bulls. Let's see. I mean, obviously good prices on Game Time, but I'd be going with low expectations for that one. I think the Bucks have won like 11 over 10 games in a row. The Bulls are on the opposite end with losing, I don't know, is it just 5 or 6 now?
There's a snowstorm. Truly, wait until Game Time if you're going to buy tonight. If you're looking to go to the last game before the All-Star.
Bulls, baby. TNT Bulls, 20
That's
straight.
right.
Let's go.
6:30 tip tonight too. So right around, you come down, get yourself some dinner, log on. Don't even mess around. Log on to the app at about 6 o'clock and get yourself your seats. That's what I would do. And 11 straight. Thank you, Torian. The Bucks are real. All right. Let's bring in our guy, Brad Spielberger, Pro Football Focus, as we turn our attention to free agency and the salary cap, and nobody knows it better than Brad. And Brad, we really appreciate you taking time. First time on the CHGO Bears podcast. Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Great to see you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
So, but before we get into this, any of the actual players and some of the minutia of all this, how much money do the Bears have, Brad? I've seen 90 million. I've seen 148 million. I've seen 94 million. Can you? And then there's the actual amount that they could spend. How is that actually worded? It's the effective cap number, which the Bears on one post I saw today, 94 million. Their effective cap space is 85 million. They have the most money. We know that, but can you break down exactly how much dough the Bears have?
Yep. So the last figures you mentioned there, 94 million in cap space, and the effective cap space is basically us just filling your roster to 53 players or inputting your rookie pool as it stands today. Obviously, the first overall pick would add a big chunk to the salary cap in year one. So, like you said, either way, it's a ton more than anybody else. It is not really an issue for them. If they want to add a ton of players, they can do that pretty easily.
Brad, as a cap savant, let me ask you this. When you look at the Bears and all the cap space, the draft capital, the needs, what excites you most about what Ryan Poles can do in 2023?
Yeah, I think you can truly blend this draft and the free agency to both focus on, okay, Justin Fields is going into his third year of his rookie deal. Let's say hypothetically he is going to become that, big money extension player that we all hope he's going to be. You want to capitalize on this year and next year before the fifth year option. And then, of course, this hypothetical massive extension that, would be the greatest, contract that, they could ever sign. So I think in free agency, I've had conversations, not to get into particular players, but I don't think they're going to be afraid of 29, 30-year-old guys with the idea that those players help them the next couple of years. And then your draft class, you're building for the future and getting some teammates of Fields is hopefully for the next, 5-10 years.
Now, I saw a comment that just came up, and it's been through our mind. We've talked about in the show a few times that there's like a minimum amount that the Bears actually have to spend this year with that cap. Brad, if you don't know the number, that's okay. But could you explain why there's a minimum and how that's kind of like, I don't know, like computed or however you want to phrase it. But I'm just curious, like how that kind of works.
Yeah, so the NFL has a structure where every team over certain tranches of years, as of right now, it's 2021 to 2023, they have to spend 90% of the cumulative cap over those 3 years in cash. So, just hypothetically, if there were three $100 million caps, they'd have to spend $270 million total over those 3 years. This past season, with a $208 million cap, the Bears spent about $145 million. They were dead last by a significant margin. They spent about a half as much that the LA Rams did in cash this year. That's how cheap they were in clearing the book. So they also were a little bit below in 2021. So for 2023, they need to spend on top of what they already have spent, another $150 million, I think it is off the top of my head, which of course can come via internal extensions for Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney. It's not just, external free agents, but they're going to have to be one of the biggest spenders in all of free agency. I know Ryan Poles has stressed, which is smart, that you're not trying to go crazy and make these big splashes all the time. To a degree, they're going to have to make one or two big deals this offseason.
So, Brad, if the Bears wanted to bank dough for next year, right? We're not exactly sure where we're at. We want to load up on the draft, and we're going to try to improve that way, and we're going to pick a wide receiver in the draft. Whatever. We're going to give Justin Fields Njimba and say, hey, roll with your Ohio State guy. And they just wanted to bank as much dough as possible for 2024. What's the least amount? Do you have an answer on that they could spend this offseason and try to just parlay this into one more, kick the can down the road 1 year? I don't think they're going to do that, but I'm curious. I'm sure they're looking at all options.
Yeah, so they had to get to a number of around 245 million in cash spent this year to hit that minimum, right? Because it's a 3-year rolling minimum that ends after this upcoming year. So they can't be super cheap again, but they could, in theory, only spend about an additional 120 million, could get them into that range. I think I said 150, about an additional 120 to get into that range. I think another smart way to go about it is they could wait to see if a couple guys, maybe Jalen Johnson, for example, don't extend guys like that right away. Chase Claypool, obviously another example. And then maybe during the season, if they've seen progression, they then feel more comfortable with those guys. Maybe you then pull the trigger, but you leave yourself a little bit of wiggle room if you don't think they've grown, that, you don't go ahead and make those moves.
Brad, real quickly, I think David Montgomery is I want to say polarizing in a way for Bears fans. Do you pay him? Do you not? What would a number look like that would be fair for the Bears, fair for him, obviously being a running back and just how they're kind of paid nowadays? But what's kind of like your opinion on David Montgomery and what the Bears might do with him moving forward?
Yeah, it's always good to see. So my projection on our site, I do the top 100 free agents of the contracts. I had him at 3 years, $19.5 million. And I was happy to see that a recent article from The Athletic with Kevin Fishbane, an agent told him he thinks 3 years, $19 million. So I think we see that similar vein. Yeah, right around, $6.5 million per year. For me, that's based off of James Conner, Leonard Fournette, the guys last offseason that got right in that range, 3 years, $6-7 million per year. Look, I think he's a good player. I think he is a 3-down player, can pass protect, can catch passes, but he's just not very explosive, and I don't think can take the top off and have those big, 80-yard touchdown runs. You're just not really going to see that from him. So I think he's that middle tier. And look, I don't know if Chicago is willing to go there, but that's not, going to break the bank by any means.
Now, obviously, it's not just signing guys. The Bears may actually create more space by cutting some players with some bigger cap hits heading this season. I know a bigger name I see floated around a lot is Cody Whitehair, just due to him not playing up to the contract that he's currently on. And I know the Bears can save a pretty penny by doing so. But when I was looking at your PFF articles about surprise cuts or just players that could be cut, I was actually pretty surprised to see the Bears player that you had listed.
Yeah, so I hear you 110%, and I do think I kind of alluded to it. Look, in a vacuum, no team is ever going to say, hey, we need to spend money, so we're going to let a player that is not playing up to the level of his contract just stick around. And I don't think Cody Whitehair has been remotely good enough. I think you could probably argue, guys like Al-Qadim Muhammad, guys like Lucas Patrick also probably aren't playing up to the level of their current contracts. I kind of just kept it there because they need help at offensive line. I think they could convince themselves, Cody Whitehair, maybe with getting healthy, another year in this system, and then Lucas Patrick, obviously, getting healthy from all his various ailments, maybe finally getting stuck at center and not moving around seemingly every week. But, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if either of those guys gets let go. I think it was more just, why would we cut offensive linemen? Might be a question to ask themselves.
And for the record, free agency officially begins, if my math is correct, in 27 days. Correct, Brad?
March 15th, but we'll see deals the 13th because of that legal tampering window that we always get.
All right. Make a prediction, Brad. You got. I look at your top 100. You've got Javon Hargrave at number 3 overall, but you don't have him getting the biggest contract. You've got him at 3 years and $55 million. which is less than some of the guys that you have ranked below him, which I find very interesting. I would think that would be interesting to the Bears. It's certainly a position of need. If you had to guess at one guy who the Bears will sign, who are you taking?
Hargrave is a good answer, but I'll go with Mike McGlinchey, the right tackle for the San Francisco 49ers. If I had to just pick one splashy name, he's a right tackle in a wide zone system. I do think he is going to reach free agency. I don't think they're going to tag him. I don't think they're going to find a multi-year deal for him, which, you're probably alluding to Daron Payne. As much as I'd love for Daron Payne to be a Bear, I think he is going to get franchise tagged in Washington.
Oh, that's disappointing to hear. I like Daron Payne, but that's all right. If it happens, it happens. I asked some of the commenters who are watching right now, Brad, to just ask some questions, and I want to read off this one from Bro Delicious. Interesting name. He said, I want to know how the best teams are composed under the cap. It seems like most of them have 4 to 5 taking up the majority of the cap. People see the Bears cap and think we get in 3 to 4 elite level guys.
I think it varies team to team. I mean, for example, look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They don't really have these massive deals. They have about 7 or 8 like mid-tier guys, Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Jordan Mailata, all in the 14 to 16 million per year range. So, I think at the end of the day, everything kind of funnels down from quarterback. I know it's maybe an oversimplification, but if you have a quarterback making $49, $50 million, everything else kind of trickles down from there. I think that, look, the top-heavy approach, if you are the LA Rams or whatever team you want to throw in there, can work to a degree. I think the more sustainable approach over the long haul is you get your best internal players signed to early extensions as soon as you can, and you're going to get discounts on those deals. I mentioned the Eagles. Jordan Mailata making $16 million a year is insane. He's worth over 20. Josh Sweat making $14 million a year is also insane. So I personally think you want to get like 8 to 10, highly paid players. Although, again, of course, quarterback, kind of complicates that entire equation.
I like this question in the comments from Reese too. Just wanting to hear about like Keenan Allen and maybe if there are any other wide receiver potential cap casualties that you can foresee right now.
Yeah, so Allen I think does make sense. I guess not a cap casualty, but I would be surprised if DeAndre Hopkins is not traded by like the end of March. I don't think he's going to be an Arizona Cardinal much longer. So another name there. Yeah, right. There's not a ton of great cap casualty names this year, but I do think, I know people are going to love this. It's probably not going to happen in March, but I think T. Higgins eventually is going to become a player that teams are going to start making calls on, and Cincinnati is eventually, if they can't find a common ground, going to be starting answering those phone calls. Again, not right away, but I think it is going to happen eventually. So, yeah, unfortunately, the free agent market and the cap casualty market don't look super strong. But, him, maybe Brandon Ayuk in San Francisco, if they don't want to pay another player, eventually those phone calls are going to get answered.
Hey, Brad, are you a Justin Fields fan?
Big time.
Okay, so just making sure we're all on the same page here. So you would say that it's a fair assessment that he'll make the same leap from year 2 to 3 that he did from year 1 to 2?
I would certainly hope so, and I really do think it's reasonable to predict that you get. I mean, the circumstances were the worst in the NFL. I know I saw a comment about our offensive line grading. Look, if you do true pass sets, not to get too in the weeds here, but if you do true pass sets, which takes away screen plays, play action, stuff like that, they were dead last for us in pass protection grades. So, I know it's tough. We can't put out every single metric. And look, I'm not saying, you can make fun of PFF all you want, but like they're not good. We know they're not good. I think if you help him out, get him some healthy pass catchers and a better offensive line, he should take a quantum leap next year.
Okay.
Quantum.
So okay, I like it. And when Colin Cowherd is saying that the Bears his protection is not bad. They're 14th. You're sitting there in Brad Spielberger land saying, what the hell are you talking about, Colin?
Unfortunately, it's hard to put out every single thing that we do, but no, yeah, on actual dropbacks where he's, it's not like I say, little pass plays, getting the ball out quickly, which we saw from Luke Getsy. I mean, that's kind of their offense, right? When you truly break it down it's a standard dropback and they have to hold up and pass protect for over 2 seconds. They were dead last in the NFL for us this year. So yeah, I respectfully disagree with Colin Cowherd.
You're right. And the long way around here, my point is that if Fields makes the same jump, what type of dough do you think he's getting next year?
I mean, look, you're going to get Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, maybe all these dudes getting these massive, massive contracts. If he does make that leap, let's say even just like Jalen Hurts year 3, right? Year 2 to year 3, Jalen Hurts. I mean, it's going to be over $50 million a year. Like I said, though, again, that'd be a great problem to have. I would love it. I'll throw money in a GoFundMe and I'm all in on that.
That could have been how we did the stadium funding earlier. Carl.
Yes. Yep. Brad, real quickly, kind of shifting over to one of his teammates, one of the reliable players on offense, Cole Kmet. He's, obviously due for an extension. And what is he worth? Like, obviously he had a good season last year, especially the touchdown production. But in your eyes, what's a Cole Kmet worth in terms of an extension?
Yeah, look, I know Bears fans are going to balk at this. I put a tweet out, I think in like November, December, saying he was going to get at least $12 million a year, and everyone was like, "What the heck are you talking about?" So the tight end, and he's going to get more than that. The tight end market is very strange, to where like there's been this cap at the top. George Kittle signed for $15 million a year in around 2020. Darren Waller technically surpassed it this offseason, but not really. And basically everyone has come in below that. Travis Kelce also. It's kind of just like Gronk back in the day. You can't argue that you're worth more than these top tight ends. So that being said, like David Njoku getting above $13 million a year, Dawson Knox getting $13 million a year. Cole Kmet is not noticeably worse than Dawson Knox. Like, he isn't. And I think at a position that takes a lot of time to grow, he's still very young. Look, I don't think he's ever going to become a guy that's going to be separating against man coverage or winning, on downfield routes. But he is an above-average blocker at the position, and he can catch the ball close to the line of scrimmage and, get some yards after the catch, show some red zone prowess this year. So anyway, long answer short, I think it's going to be a 4 or 5 year deal around $13.5 million a year.
Okay.
Going back to just like the cap in general, and I know Carm was asking about like how far the Bears could maybe kick that can down the road again. But what about like spending money now, but like moving it or just being like flexible with it? Like, how could the Bears still make, some additions, some signings this year and be flexible? And how should they be wary of that with Fields' upcoming potential contract situation? Because I remember a former Bears GM, also named Ryan, last name started with a P, who loved to backload contracts. And I think that's why Poles had to like do what he did last offseason, just due to all of that money that kept getting pushed and pushed. So how should the Bears kind of approach this newfound sense of financial freedom?
Yeah, so Carm, if I misunderstood you before, I apologize. So it's a great question. I think what they can do is, to a degree, you don't go crazy, but is to front load deals this offseason. So we're talking about cap now, and if you're trying to save some of that cap and, like you said, not be R1P1, that's what I call them, R2P2 and R1P1, and push all this cap into the future, you can do, for example, what San Francisco did with Jimmy Garoppolo, which was they put a massive roster bonus in the first year of his deal when he first got there. So instead of a big signing bonus that gets spread out over the full contract, you pay a lot of it from a cash and cap standpoint right up front. I do think they are going to do that to a degree. They're not going to go crazy with it, but I do think that is going to be what you're going to see is some of these deals are going to be, the cap hits are going to be larger in year one. Here's another example too. The Jets did it with Corey Davis and Carl Lawson because they had a ton of cap space when they started adding these guys. If they want to cut either of those players this offseason, the dead money is six figures. It's less than $1 million because they didn't give these massive signing bonuses and then restructure over and over again like Pace did. I shouldn't have said his name. But yeah, so anyway, that's what I think they do there to save themselves long term.
And just in general philosophy, paying up front early is way smarter if you can do it. It gives you more flexibility on the back end, which is what you want. The Bears are in the position if they want to do that. I hope they do. And by the way, I'd like to throw out an option here that should be available that I guess is illegal, but I think it should be made legal. To your point about keeping flexibility here, if this makes sense, Will, why can't the Bears all of a sudden at the back end of year 3 when Fields is crushing it, why can't they just give him a huge bonus right there? Hey, thanks so much for everything you did this year, Justin, and let's apply that to his next contract. Like, let's eat up all the money that's left over. We should be able to do that, Brad.
That'd be lovely. You can do it to a degree. So, for Mooney and Kmet this offseason, for example, like you're going to store some of that signing bonus money in the 4th year of their rookie contract. It's not all going to apply to the new years. But yeah, that'd be nice with Fields if you could just give him a big old chunk of money before he's even eligible, just to make things even easier to build around him.
That'd be nice if things can work out, how we hypothetically think they can work.
Yeah.
Real quickly, Brad, I have one more question from our commenters here. It's from Doug. He asked, do you think the Bears can improve their O-line in free agency more than in the draft? I don't know how much you've gotten into the draft right now, but got to say I'm on the side of drafting a whole new O-line except for Jenkins and Jones.
I think there are some decent options. So I mentioned McGlinchey at right tackle. I'm not as big on Caleb McGarry as other people, but I think he's a solid right tackle that, again, fits the system. For me, a center I love is Ethan Pocic with the Cleveland Browns. I don't think he's going to break the bank. I think some people think he's going to get more than I think he's going to get $7-8 million a year, which at center I think is fine, kind of in that second tier of players. The guards, I think, are a lot of more guys that fit in gap schemes. I'm not sure that not the greatest athletes. You could go after Isaac Sumalo from the Eagles. I think he's probably going to get the biggest deal of any guard. But yeah, I think if you can get a starting center and a starting right tackle on 3-4 year deals, then you can mess around in the draft. I will say I'll pour cold water. I've been pissing off a lot of people, but the Bears using a top 2-round pick on an interior offensive lineman with the state of their current roster is just not a good use of resources. When you're picking this high and you're trying to you have the worst defensive line in the NFL. You have one of the worst. You need to be spending these premium picks on premium positions, this early in the draft.
Completely agree. Will, you got one here, or I'm going to jump into my Bobby Okereke?
Hey, I just did a video on him this week that is going to be published here soon. But yeah, I want to hear in Brad's words why he believes, if he believes, the Chicago Bears are an attractive free agent destination this offseason.
It's a great question. I really think they are. First and foremost, cash rules everything around us,
Yep.
So that helps. But no, look, Chicago is an attractive destination. It's a major city. They, I think, are clearly making efforts to be more, player friendly, more from the perspective of just sports science and the facilities for their players. But also, I think it is meaningful that McCaskey is trying to create new initiatives, supporting Black players and doing things that actually the players actually care about. I don't think those things go unnoticed. So, yeah, for me it is. And getting to play with Justin Fields, it always matters too. What other players around the league are saying, these guys think Justin Fields is a superstar, right? It's going to attract players to come here. So, yeah, long answer short, I do think it is a place that players want to come to.
All right. Bobby Okereke. That's how he said his own name. So I think I have it right. And I see people in the chat saying that I'm saying it wrong. I don't know if our guy Jimmy is joking or not. We need help everywhere, and I know the Bears don't want to pay for linebackers, Brad, but I like this guy. He's young. He's got an interesting pedigree. He's gotten better every year he's in the league. Do you think he could be a good value buy?
110%. I think he's a player they should be calling the first day of free agency. I think he is going to be in that second tier. Look, I was against giving Roquan Smith $20 million a year. I'm not against paying to get a solid player at that position, or maybe even a couple for the mid-tier deal. I think he's going to get around $8-9 million a year. And I think the connection to Matt Eberflus matters a lot, not just from the standpoint of, he knows the system and all that, but they clearly care a lot about the culture and the players they have in the building. And by all accounts, he fits that mold 110%. Eberflus loves him, and vice versa. So I think he's a guy, if I had to, again, make a prediction, I think he's a future Bear in about a month here.
Brad, real quickly, you tweeted about Aaron Rodgers earlier today, and obviously the quarterback dominoes, however they fall, will affect the Bears in some way in terms of when teams are going to move up, how they're going to move up. What's the situation with Aaron Rodgers? Can he be traded before June 1st? What's kind of the deal there?
Yeah, so he can. And I know, his contract is extremely complicated. He can be traded. And realistically, even ignoring the cap thing for the Packers, if you're another team, you're not going to bring in a quarterback that's going to be owed $60 million next year. Basically what happens is each team gets a cash budget from their owner, probably in February, early March. And they say, all right, here's how much you have to spend this year. They want to know before free agency. If you're a team that's interested in Rodgers, or you're just going to sit there and not sign guys because you don't know if you're going to pay him. So yeah, I think he's going to be, this is just a guess, but I think he's going to be a Las Vegas Raider within a month. Is my guess. Yeah, they're not going to wait till June 2nd because the other teams aren't going to wait, not because the Packers cap situation.
Brad, phenomenal stuff. You are always on top of it, and we really appreciate you making time. But before you go, I think everybody has to weigh in on – I love these looks from Will where he doesn't know where I'm going to go. Before you go, I want to know, what percentage of you thinks that the Bears would be right – to considering the number that you just threw out if Justin Fields has a great year of $50 million, and everybody be happy to pay him if he did, but how much would you be entertaining what Fields is actually worth and looking at the quarterbacks that are coming out?
So for next year, you mean not this year?
I'm saying you're going to make you are going to draft Bryce Young because people are calling him mini Mahomes, and you're going to make the best possible deal you can make with Fields and add on to all the draft capital and build your team that way.
So, look, I love Bryce Young. I really, really do. But I would stick with Fields. I would not trade him at this point. I think you try to trade down from one and add around him. I will say this. Again, I also love Justin Fields. I think it's a different conversation if it's Caleb Williams and Drake May. But I still probably I don't know. Yeah. To answer your question, Bryce Young, love the guy. I want Justin Fields under center in 2023.
All right. I don't think there's going to be any pushback on the show from that take.
He's not even as tall as Mina Kimes. We all saw the picture. It's all accurate.
Hey, we'll talk about this in a second. But there was good news, I think, on the Bears draft front yesterday. Brad, great stuff. Thanks so much. We look forward to having you on again.
Thank you, guys. Sounds good.
Brad Spielberger, Pro Football Focus. All right, Will's got to tell you something, and then I want to talk about this, what I'm considering good news, because I think it is actually a nice little development yesterday. So just stand by.
Take it away. Yeah, that's what the looks were for. I was communicating with Nick with my facial expressions because I was like checking the ad reads. I'm like, we already did this one. What do you want me to say? So I have to talk about FOCO and Chicago. You've already got the best coverage for your favorite teams, so get fitted out in the best sports gear around. FOCO got you covered from Soldier Field to the living room, north or south side, with hoodies, slippers, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. Get decked out like DeMar with apparel from the leader in sports merchant collectibles, FOCO. Looking for the perfect gift for the football fan in your life? FOCO's got you covered with hoodies to fight that Lake Michigan breeze or the sleet that you're all dealing with here today too. So check out FOCO.com or click the link in the description below, or scan this fancy QR code on our screen. You can screenshot it too if you have an iPhone. Hold your thumb on it, and it'll also take you there, by the way. So that gets you 10% off on all non-presale items. Use that promo code CHGO.
All right, so I don't want to overstate what's going on, and everybody's got to create content, as we've clearly have to do here and love doing. But there is a lot of conversation going on, as you would imagine, about the quarterbacks that are out there. And Todd McShay, who has a prominent position out there, and he's sitting there, and he's not the only one that seems to be doing exactly what the Bears want people to do, which is fall in love with the quarterback. Bryce Young all of a sudden has become mini Mahomes. And I don't know if it matters, but it's definitely a positive development. The more mini Mahomes we hear, the better as far as the Bears are concerned. Let's just get that out there. Let's literally have everybody calling him mini Mahomes and wonder about his durability. Sure, he's 5'10", he's under 200 pounds. Will he last? But when you talk about you don't want somebody to rise up here, elite talent, you got to have him. Mini Mahomes works for me. Let's go. So I thought I don't know how you guys were seeing it. If that kind of raised your eyebrows a little bit, like, oh sweet that this name is out there. But I loved seeing it.
Yeah, the more positive things about all these quarterbacks, the better. Will Levis is the next Josh Allen. You heard it right here on the CHGO Bears podcast. Go get him, GM. Go get him. Fall in love with your Mitch Trubisky and give up, heaven and earth to go get him. Right? So like the Bears did back in 2017. So it does work in the Bears' favor. If especially the draft is going to escalate these conversations even more, Mark. When you see Will Levis in shorts and a t-shirt throwing 60-yard bombs on a dime, it's like one GM is going to just envision, hey, he could do this for my, franchise. That's exactly what the Bears, I think, are hoping happens, so that you can leverage that position, the number one overall pick, a little bit more. And you also, I know you guys have probably seen Jim Irsay on Twitter too. He said, the Bears connection goes back like 60 years and tweets a picture of, the bear there. So, it's all a game. Like, everyone's trying to make you think they're thinking of one guy, and it could be exact opposite, but more positivity and glowing remarks about these quarterbacks, the better.
I don't think I have to even add anything to that. It just makes sense from any standpoint you look at it. If a player's stock goes up, who's coveted to be like the top quarterback, the most important position in all of football, a position that you're going to have a handful of teams wanting to find that long-term answer to, and they have a chance to go get them, obviously the asking price can go up. It's all about supply and demand, and if the quality of the product's even higher than maybe once perceived, then you can get a little bit more back too. So yeah, you're right. It's a positive development. It's only February 16th. We still got a long way to go, but I feel like after combine and after pro days, that's when quarterback stocks tend to rise even more so. I remember week quarterback classes like, oh, there shouldn't be a single quarterback taken in the first round. And then there goes 2 or 3. So you just never know how it's all going to shake out. But the more people talk up these guys, the better for the Bears. And it was trade down efforts to get more return on that pick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously stating the obvious here that all right, great, but it did catch me off guard yesterday. Mini Mahomes, huh? All right, sweet, and then it actually makes me want to watch more Bryce Young tape. Is he Mini Mahomes? Because if he is, well, that would be interesting. $5 super chat from Jimmy Tony. My prediction: GM and quote draft experts will be drooling over Richardson and Levis during the combine pro days, which is exactly what you guys just were talking about.
Yeah, and guys, too, real quickly, wouldn't it make sense from the Bears' vantage point where they didn't publicly state, like, we're committed to Justin Fields, right? Doesn't that just keep everyone else guessing in terms like, oh, wait, are the Bears actually considering, trying to going to get a quarterback? Again, like, obviously we all know now that Ryan Poles texted Justin Fields saying, we'll keep you in the loop or something along those lines, but it makes sense from the Bears' perspective to keep things open, maybe even though internally they know that Fields is their guy.
If it's internal and they're having open and honest communication and it's not allowing any fear to creep into Fields' mind about where he may go or if he's thinking, like, I don't want to turn Fields' mindset about his relationship with this football team, how Tevin Jenkins has looked at his relationship with this football team. If that can be avoided and they can, like, behind closed doors say this is all for leverage, we're just doing this to better build around you, and he believes them firmly and they actually mean it, say what you want. I don't care. You can get anything, you can get a haul back and kind of keep people guessing. And it's early, so you can kind of do some of the smoke and mirrors. But as long as internally things are 100% like fine, and we're not going to start getting that Tevin Jenkins approach to like that relationship with the team, like I mentioned, then I'm fine with it. And again, like they can tell us whatever they want, but I believe they're firmly, in Justin's corner and want to build this team around him.
So, and this is a podcast, not a courtroom, so take it for what it's worth. This is just this is a rumor.
Don't make me grab my gavel.
Well, I think this might bother a couple people, but like what I have heard from behind the scenes, not confirmed. I don't have this on first to court or even second to court. There are some in the building that are sold on Fields, and there's some that are not. So, some look at him like this is the dude. I don't need to see anymore, and others are like, yeah, I'm not exactly sure. So those, which makes sense to me. Like I'm sure there's conversations going on in that building. Like, yes, but, and then there's others are going yes, and which also is taking me back again to Howie Roseman and what the Eagles did for Jalen Hurts. We don't really know, and I don't think logically the Bears can officially know. But you're not going to know unless you give him more weapons around him to really truly find out. And that's so. How aggressive are they going to be to do that? $1.99 super chat from Cornelius Pryor. Will Justin Jones be a starter next year as we flip back over to the defense? Best guesses, guys?
I think he does, but it won't be the starting 3 tech. I think they may shift him to like a 1 if you do find that true 3. And with the Bears, when you watch them, like you say 3 tech, but they flip so much up front and bounce out. Like I think he will be a starter in quotes on the depth chart, and he'll have plenty of experience or I guess rotation time within this defensive line next year. It's too much to overhaul in one offseason with all the other holes on this roster, and he was fine. You just have to find better talent to surround him, and I would expect them to do so, but he should still be getting starter snaps.
He was playing defensive end at times too last season. They're kind of moving him around. And if the Eagles have taught us anything too, you can never have enough good defensive linemen or depth at least. And if Justin Jones gets pushed down a notch because they go upgrade like Will was just talking about, that's a good situation to be in for the Bears and just wanting to revamp and to actually have a consistent pass rush in 2023.
Cornelius, we appreciate the super chat. My look at it is he was brought in here because he was a versatile dude. And just like Will saying, and Nick, that look, they got a lot of needs. There's probably going to be a spot for Justin Jones to start on that defensive line somewhere. Joe Calcagno, $4.99. On part of my take, Fields was gushing about Jackson Smith in Jigma. We talked about this. Do you think they make a move to get him to please Justin Fields? They need wide receivers, Joe. He's supposed to be a late first-round pick. The Bears don't, the way this would fall is that they would have to make a trade, get into the low second round. He'd have to be there. That's how I would see it. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I was listening to the podcast earlier today, and they were kind of pushing him. Can you give us one player that you'd want to go get? And that was the guy. He mentioned his route running, his ability to go up and get the ball, and obviously having being the Ohio State guy. So it probably would be a trade back scenario. You get low in the first round, high in the second round if you have that pick, but it helps the Bears, and they need to be looking at all options when it comes to adding playmakers around Justin Fields, because if he's going to take a Jalen Hurts jump, he needs to have guys to throw to and to kind of push, everyone else down a notch so that he can be, one of the top guys too. But yeah, they need to look at all these options.
Yeah, they're not going to draft them at 4 if they trade back there. They're going to you will have to find a way to get additional picks, late first, early second. Hey, that Chase Claypool pick, Carm, I'm sure you wouldn't mind pointing that out. Like, would be sitting there right at number 32 right now. Like, that would make a lot of sense. But will they make a push? If it's not for him, it's going to be for another receiver in this draft, or there will be another one that they like with where those picks align, and they will be drafting a receiver. But Jackson is a really interesting talent. I know Nick and I are doing a lot of homework on some of these prospects for a video series right now, and I was watching a lot of him this week, and you get excited thinking about the potential pairing. It's just a matter of, can they find the right draft pick in the right spot where he's there and you're not reaching to get it done.
When you guys are doing your work, has anyone jumped out at you that you're super excited about, that you perhaps could lean into right now, that you wouldn't ruin a future show?
Are we saying at 4 or just anywhere in this draft right now?
I however you want to play it. You could give me a late round guy that you love, or you want to go somebody at the top. I really don't. Just get me excited about someone, Nick.
Yeah. Okay. So one guy that I saw in person, and it's not necessarily a position of need per se, but Luke Musgrave, the tight end, guy showed out at the Senior Bowl, and it's not. Look, you're adding to a position that you think you have solidified in Cole Kmet, but that's a playmaker. He runs like a wide receiver, even though he has a 6'5", 250-pound tight end. But, just a guy that I like as a prospect. Is it the perfect position for the Bears? Probably not where he's slated to get drafted, but yeah, a guy that does pop on film, and, he's going to have a good NFL career, I think.
For me, the guy that the more I look into, the more I like is Miles Murphy. And again, I don't know about the Bears specifically. Would he be worth a top 5 pick? I don't know. But when you're looking at all of the edge rushers right now in this class, he is someone that I look at as like a true fit. I think he has like the complete profile of strength, athleticism. He's only 20 years old, so you're getting a lot of someone who's very young who can still grow. And some of these other guys are like those tweeners, or they're that stand-up guy, and how would they really translate to a hand in the dirt defensive end? That gets me a little concerned. But with Murphy, like I don't have concerns like that. He just kind of pops out to me as someone that will be a very good pro in this league, and a game changer. And I like him a lot.
Dude stepped in as a freshman at Clemson, was immediately impactful. Let's all get excited. You guys are back tomorrow, and anything you want to promote for tomorrow's show? I know you've been working, as you just said, a ton on the draft here.
I don't think we have anything settled yet, but knowing Nick and I, it doesn't take long to have a badass show prepared and outlined for everyone. So definitely don't miss Friday's show here. The CHGO Bears podcast. I have some ideas I'm going to run by Nick, but we've definitely been, nose to the grindstone of these 20 collegiate guys, prospects that we've been doing our homework on. And I'm sure we'll tap into a little bit of that too come tomorrow, and maybe some free agency talk on top of it.
Yeah. And Will, why don't you underline why people should become a diehard and read everything that you're putting out there?
Oh,
cooking it up and putting it down. Yep.
Yeah, I see what you did. This is payback for Monday. Well, there's a ton of great reasons why you should become a diehard. First of all, my favorites, 20% off all the merch all the time, even when we're running sales, 20% all of our events. That's tailgates. Those are takeovers. You get to come into our happy hours, which is when we all hop on Zoom with our diehards. We grab some drinks. We tell some stories, have a great time. and just so much more. I know those official like diehard merch, people love those too. And I love our Discord, our CHGO Lounge. This is like an app where you go into different rooms, like a Bears room per se. You can talk Bears football with a lot of like-minded, passionate Bears fans. And of course, all of us are in there too. So it's a great way to talk with us, talk with other Bears fans, and just continue to get, our community growing a little bit more tight knit. So head over to allchgo.com/diehard to give you all the details. Those are some of my favorite reasons to join, but there's a lot more at allchgo.com/diehard.
Go ahead, Nick. Your best reason right now to become a diehard before you go. I'm a diehard Moreano fan. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, you see the consistent podcast, right? Don't you want to become more a part of that, being a part of the CHGO community, the diehard community? We have a little Slack, or we have a little channel in the Discord where you can hang out with us. It doesn't even have to be Bears football, like, right? We can talk about anything. And that's what's cool about our community is, like, we want to get to know you and hopefully you get to know us in the process. So there's so many great perks. And I can't do a better job than what Will has done earlier, but again, look into it. And this is draft season. There's going to be a lot of content out there, a lot of competition, but why not come here and support the people that you've been following for years now? And it would just be a great investment for you. And also, Mark, just one more thing for you. Go watch The Last of Us. You have tomorrow. You're not on the show. Go watch The Last of Us and get caught up with everything. It's amazing. Don't give up on it. I was thinking about your comment, yesterday. I'm like, damn it, Mark. They rubbed me the wrong way. Go watch The Last of Us.
Really? Walking Dead Part 2 show?
It's not The Walking Dead.
Will, have you watched it?
No, because I have to play the game first. Because I own the
he's got a
game.
reason.
I've never opened the game. I need to play the game.
I've never played the game, and it's a great show. It's
But
also not a zombie show.
I actually want to play it. And I don't want the game to be ruined. I don't want to feel like I'm just doing a walkthrough of what I
Video
watched.
game. Big deal. Then don't play the game. Sell the game.
No.
Play the game.
You get
Play the
$5
game.
Play the
for it.
game.
I've had it for like 7 years.
You're saying great show, Benedetto.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's an HBO show. You think they make bad shows? No.
True.
Yes.
Ooh, watch some Barry while you're at it.
Yeah, exactly. Watch The Wire again. Why not?
Well, never watched The Wire. That's got to be added to the list. I know. Believe me, I get it. Massive loaf. I just couldn't. I every time I've tried, I haven't been able to get into it. I got to give myself more leeway. And we got free agency. We got a lot going on over here. But okay, The Last of Us. I'm in. I'll report back next week. And by the way, Bragg's saying that if you become a diehard, he's going to do a Rise and Shine video for you. That's huge. For me, it's of course the connection that we've had with everybody that we get on the personal touch. It's just been awesome. So hey, thanks to our guy Brad Spielberger, Pro Football Focus. Great to be with you guys today. Appreciate you letting me hang out. Everyone in the chat, appreciate you as always. Have a great rest of your Thursday. And don't forget, the Bears are going to end up back at Soldier Field in a brand new Soldier Field in 2029. Just for when your head hits the pillow tonight, don't even worry about it. This Arlington Heights thing,
Lies.
It's total BS. We'll see you tomorrow.